Hi, Andrew.
Am I able to share my screen?
Yes, in a minute. Yes, can able to share.
I'm just checking if it's possible.
Yes, you are able to share.
Yeah, that's good.
So now 2:30. So we will start in 2 minutes.
Mm.
Yes, Balakrishna, you have a question?
Yes, I'm not able to get the video on.
Oh, so that is, I think you need to turn it on your side.
No, there is no, usually there is a button here. It doesn't show it here now.
Oh,
If this is a webinar, as opposed to a meeting, then it may not, your videos may be disabled.
Okay. That's okay with me. I don't know if you can see me or not.
No.
no, we can hear you and we can see your name, but we don't see your video.
All right. Okay. I have the camera in front and usually it turns on by itself.
Yeah, somehow it's not turning on them. So we will start in 1 minute.
How many participants are there?
Total 6 attendees and you and me. Total 8.
And I'm not able to see the others. I can just
It's a webinar. They're trickling in.
Sorry?
They're trickling in.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's Andrew, we'll start now. I'll start with the prayer and then we'll start, okay?
Mm.
And people who are not joining late, they will get a recordings, I believe.
God has come.
Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Namaste Astu Bhagavan Vishweshwara Mahadevaya Triyambakaya Tripurantakaya Trikagnikalaya Kalagnirudraya Neelakanthaya Mrityunjayaya Sarveshwaraya Sadashivaya Sriman Mahadevaya Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you and welcome to the Vedic Yagya Center webinar on Maha Yagya, which we are doing Maha Yagya and Vedic remedies. And this Maha Yagya is taking place in California in Costa Mesa. And on September 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So we will be learning about the Maha Yagya and what is Maha Yagya, and in a quantum physics level also, Dr. Andrew Foss will be giving some information about the Maharudra and the remedies. So let's welcome Andrew Foss. And Andrew, thank you. And you can please start yours, and then I will be talking as well.
Thank you very much. So I've been invited to give a little bit of, this is not going to be any heavy science or anything, actually it's very interesting. But the idea is to see whether this whole concept of Vedic recitations, Vedic Yagyas, including meditation, yoga, how is it that they work? Why do they work? You know, is there any physics? And it turns out there's powerful physics behind it. So I'm going to show you a few slides. Bear with me. So don't be frightened by a reference to quantum mechanics, because this is, I'm not going to try and teach you quantum mechanics, but it's very interesting. You know, quantum mechanics is a theory of matter. You know, it's dealing with electrons and all that. And consciousness is obviously immaterial, or it appears to be, but there are some very interesting similarities. Now, in quantum mechanics, time can run. This is just one example of how it is connected somehow. See, time can run backwards or forwards in quantum mechanics. There's no reason why you can't go backwards or forwards in time. But what we experience as ordinary, sort of what you could call classical beings, is that it's always running forwards. That is until we start meditating, and deep in meditation, it's like everything is standing still. And you could easily move your attention backwards or forwards in time. So to a meditator, there's no problem with this, but physicists who only experience that their life is rolling forwards all the time, they don't understand quantum mechanics, even though they use it on a daily basis. Now, the thing about quantum mechanics is that everything is based on these waves, basically, the idea that something is a wave. But you don't have to think about a wave like the ocean wave. It's just that there's a single entity which describes the whole system. The quantum mechanical system is actually just a single entity. And in the kind of classical worldview, everything is sort of, there's a multiplicity. Like an atom, it has protons, neutrons, electrons. So we're indoctrinated with this idea that there's all these different things that are somehow stuck together by, you know, chemistry or electromagnetism. And there's also this idea you often hear about in the press these days, quantum entanglement. So you think of some object here and some object here, and there's some kind of rubber band or something connecting them. Now, this idea, which is propagated by the word quantum entanglement, has completely confused not only the public, but even the physicists, because they also think that there's two things connected by some rubber band. It's a mistake in the languaging, because it's not two things, it's one thing. The quantum entangled system is just it's a single entity that happens to exist over an expanse of space. And that's why there's nothing peculiar about the fact that one part of it is intimately tied to the other part. So the point is that quantum mechanics is dealing with wholeness, while our worldview, when we're not meditating, is all about the differences. That's how we understand everything. Now, in 1804, there was a physicist, British physicist, who passed electrons, or rather this was light particles, through two slits, and they saw an interference pattern. This is one of the things you learn in a very early physics class. It's like way before Physics 101, you see this experiment. But then later on, they discovered that it works for electrons. So this was the early days of quantum mechanics. They managed to explain how it could be that you send one electron, and it appears to pass through both slits. How is it that one thing can pass through two slits? Well, that's quantum mechanics. So they said, well, the electron turns into a wave, behaves like a wave, and then it becomes when it reaches the detector, it becomes a particle again. This is how they try to understand it. But then some time later, a lot of time later, quite recently, they started dropping large organic molecules, big molecules, hundreds of atoms. They discovered they also went through two slits and behaved like a wave. Then even more recently, somebody tried dropping bacteria, one bacteria after another. They also went through the two slits and behaved like a wave. So this is the astonishing result, because a bacteria is a very complex entity. It has millions of atoms, and some of them are, tied together in big molecules, and some are very loosely tied. They're just swimming around inside the bacteria. It has a cell wall and everything, and all of this is proven by this experiment that it's a single wholeness. It can be described by a single quantum mechanical wave. Now, what is the difference between a bacteria and human beings? The DNA is pretty similar. We're made up of cells just like that. So it's really just a matter of the relative size. I mean, nobody's tried dropping humans one at a time through two slits. But in principle, there is something quantum mechanical about us, because, we're not really different. And there is another word called quantum coherence, which the physicists came up with. And most recently, they've proved that quantum coherence and quantum entanglement are essentially two sides of the same coin. So this word coherence makes it easier to understand that there's some kind of wholeness involved. You've heard of lasers. So in a laser, the light becomes coherent. What in fact happens is that instead of millions of little light particles, it turns into a single wave. And we know that laser light is very powerful. It could go all the way to the moon and back, which is not going to work for a light bulb, is it? So it doesn't need a very powerful laser. It's just that because of the coherence, it gains this tremendous power. So this is the power of wholeness or oneness, which exists inherently in creation. But you see, what we do in science is we tend to think if we're going to understand something, we have to chop it up. And as soon as we chop it up, the quantum coherence is essentially gone. It's a subtle thing, but as far as we're concerned, it's gone. Physicists don't consider there's anything there anymore. So of course they don't observe the phenomenal wholeness. So this is the problem, because you're not going to understand wholeness by chopping it up, because it just disappears. The only way to know wholeness is to be whole. I mean, that's the teaching of the Vedic literature of the great rishis and the yogis, but it's obvious common sense, isn't it? You can only know wholeness by being wholeness. Now, if we want to know the wholeness, what we have to do is expand our own coherence. And there is a technology for this. In fact, that is what the Vedic technology is methods for expanding our own coherence. As soon as we expand our coherence, we experience the wholeness, our own wholeness, and then ultimately the wholeness of everything. On a personal level, we have yoga. Yoga means union. So the whole approach of yoga is to create that state of union in the individual human consciousness. But we also have the Vedic yagyas and recitations and performances, and they induce a coherence through the vibrations. If a person is chanting something correctly, it creates a kind of coherence in themselves and in the environment. So what we want to do, the main point of this little talk is to understand how it is that one person generating coherence inside themselves can generate coherence in the environment. But we know from the whole idea of lasers, you start off with lots of individual photons, and then you bounce them back and forth between two mirrors, and they naturally coordinate with each other. And as soon as they start coordinating with each other, they produce this incredible coherent beam. So suppose you get a group of 120 Pundits, and they're all chanting the same thing at the same time with all the same rules and regulations. It creates an incredibly powerful effect. We all experience the powerful effect. What we're experiencing is that there's been some kind of expansion of the coherence beyond the individual. And there's a whole group. So this is how it's a laser effect, basically. So individual meditation is definitely going to have an effect. Group practice has a much bigger effect. Now let's think about this. We could take it to another level. So what we know about the brain is that it's inherently quantum mechanical. Now, there's a lot of talk about artificial intelligence these days, and that's based on regular computers. And in a regular computer, there is some quantum mechanics involved in the working of the basic element, which is the transistor. But really, the signal passes down the little channels or through the wires, and that is how the whole thing is functioning. But in the human brain, it's much more sophisticated. We know we have neurons, they're the brain cells, and they have these synapses, these connections which they make with other brain cells. And one might imagine that some kind of signal passes down this, connecting the synapse. But it doesn't actually work like that. The amazing thing is that no electrons pass, there's no flow of current, but there's a flow of coherence. There's some kind of extremely quantum mechanical phenomenon that goes on in the walls of the synapse. It creates this kind of wave, quantum mechanical wave. So the whole of the brain is really based a kind of quantum mechanical oscillator. Now, we don't know much about this. This is very new science, but we do know that quantum mechanical systems are extremely sensitive. Like the sensitivity of a quantum system may be 1,000,000 times more than the most sensitive measuring device that we can make using what we could call classical or regular methods of physics. Things that would be impossible to detect can be detected by a quantum mechanical system. Usually what we have to do is, cool things down to as cold as we can get them before they start to become that sensitive. But what we do experience in nature is that nature is able to maintain those kinds of sensitivities at room temperature. It's plants, birds. There's lots of examples in the natural world where this quantum coherence is being utilized, produce very efficient and precisely sensitive measuring. For example, birds. Some birds, they can literally see the magnetic field of the Earth. And they do that by using a quantum process in their eye cells. This was discovered a while back. And then very recently, this is probably in the last few months, it was discovered that this subtle process that goes on in the bird's eyes, in fact, is there inherently in all living cells. So especially light, if the cell is illuminated, then the sensitivity increases dramatically. So if somebody says they sense something without touching it, they sense it, they're not talking some kind of esoteric anything. This is now standard physics, that it's perfectly possible that they do pick up some kind of, at least magnetic fields, maybe electric fields. That's good physics now. So obviously the brain must have some kind of capability like this. Now, it's very, very interesting. The brain has a sort of basic oscillation frequency called the alpha waves. We've all heard of alpha training and all that, get people to calm down. And this goes on at about 8 cycles per second. So it's a very slow frequency. All the communications that we have are very high frequency, relatively speaking. So this in science, this is called an extremely low frequency, or ELF. Now, something very special about ELF is that it's highly penetrating. It would have no problem going through your skull, for example. And in fact, the US Navy uses, or has been in the past, using ELF for communicating with their submarines underwater, thousands of miles away, because there's no other kind of communication system that could do that. Because as soon as the signal goes into the water, it just gets absorbed. But ELF penetrates. It also has this property that it bounces off the atmosphere. So if you start putting out a signal here, it will travel all the way around the planet and it comes back to you. Now that raises the question about this, the size of the planet. Well, what's the size of the planet got to do with the brainwaves? This is very interesting, you know, that's something came across some time ago. If you take the circumference of the Earth and you take the speed of light, because we're talking about the speed of light, then if a signal starts in your brain, it takes about just over a tenth of a second to go all the way around the planet and come back again. And the wavelength of the signal that would go all the way around the planet and come back to here in sync with itself is 7.5 cycles per second, approximately. In other words, almost exactly the alpha frequency, which means there's very minor, if any kind of modification is required to the brain frequency, and then there'll be a kind of syncing with one's own product, whatever your signal, whatever you're emanating, it will sync with itself and generate what we call a standing wave or coherence. It's a coherence. So there's a kind of coherent phenomenon that's set up that covers the entire planet. You know, one can get into fine details about the slight bulge of the Earth and all that, but basically this is what it is. So therefore, it's quite possible that if you can sync the brain in the right way, it will produce an effect that will influence every other brain on the planet. Because the brain is not only as generating a signal, it's receiving signals also. So when somebody says, oh yeah, I suddenly thought of my mom, and then the next moment she called, this is, okay, it's telepathy, but it's not superstition or some kind of hocus pocus, because everybody experiences it. It's like if I had an audience of like 200 once, and I was giving a lecture that touched on this, and I said, how many people have had this experience? Well, practically everybody put their hands up. So there's very few people who don't have this experience. So it means that people are inherently telepathic, but we're not allowed to use the word telepathy because all the, you know, whoever the establishment people are jump up and down and say, oh, superstition, superstition. That's because they're not scientists, not real scientists. If you're a scientist and you observe a phenomenon, that means you've observed it, there's something there. It's not an imagination. So there must be a physical basis to it. There must be some kind of science behind it. And this is the science. It's not very difficult science. I've covered it in 5 minutes. So what I'm saying is that there's something very real going on. And if you can get a large group of people to synchronize themselves amongst themselves, it will create a very wonderful an effect on the planet as a whole. That means all those who could receive such a signal, which is primarily the humans, probably the animals, we don't know, maybe the plants, we don't know, but it is something real. So, you know, even though this is something which the Vedic literature has talked about for thousands of years, but nowadays, after hundreds of years of effort, finally science is starting to catch up a little bit and to show us how these things might work. So thank you very much for giving me a few minutes. If there's any questions, I could answer them.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you very much. So, of course, you know, any questions to Andrew, we will take it later. And I will be sharing my screen here. Andrew, do you have any other slides to show?
No, that's it.
Okay, can you stop your sharing? Yeah. So now, let me share mine. So, where is it?
If you have your hand up, can you put it down, please?
Balakrishnan, did you still have any questions?
No, I have no questions.
Could you put your, yeah, thanks.
Okay. And so here, what Andrew just spoke about, in a quantum physics level, how this Maha Yagya, which we are in Costa Mesa, we are doing in United States. Of course, there are many times has been done, but here in the temple, we are doing first time, and I'm through the Vedic Yagya Center, I'm supporting this. And we will be, it's called Navachandi Sahita Maharudra Yagya. And this Navachandi is 9 parts, 9 times 700 verses of Chandi, which we'll be talking about what is the Chandi and significance also. So first of all, to understand what is Maharudra Yagya. Maharudra is a significant Vedic ritual to invoke Lord Shiva's blessings and seek divine protection and grace. The term Maha means great, and Rudra refers to the chanting of the sacred Rudra, which is a set of powerful Vedic hymns dedicated to Lord Shiva. Maharudram involves the recitation of these hymns 1331 times, performed by a group of skilled priests over several days. As Andrew was mentioning, is 121 plus priests are chanting over the days, and this whole program is starting on Friday and ending on Monday during the long weekend. And the purpose and benefit of Maharudram, not only for in a worldly level, it's in a personal level also, peace, prosperity, and well-being. And we all looking for peace in our life. We all looking for peace in the world. But again, as you all know, the energy and consciousness of this planet is shifting. So we all needs to connect to that level of consciousness. So we need to work on ourselves. And these kind of Mahayagyas can do this job in a subtle level. So that is the reason, this is one of the main benefit. It can help the shifting consciousness, peace, prosperity, and well-being of mankind. And in this chanting of the sacred Rudra mantras, there are 169 mantras. It's called total in Rudram. And then chamakas, 11 anuvakas. 11 anuvaka is 11 chapters, where we chant these mantras and we connect each mantra. In the 169 mantras, they talk about the rivers, they talk about the mountains, they talk about the whole planet, and they talk about the grains, rains, all this, and they praise Lord Shiva. And as in the Vedic textbooks, it's clearly mentioned, when you want peace and prosperity in the world, and to connect with the consciousness level where you can get your consciousness level into 0 degree. That Shiva can do. So this is all hymns. All these hymns are pleasing Lord Shiva. And not only benefits of well-being and prosperity and all this, it's a cleansing of surroundings of negative energies. Like, we are living in the world where even though we don't want, we are surrounded by a lot of negative influences around us, the energies. And all this chanting, the vibration, as he was explaining, Andrew was explaining about the in a quantum physics level, how this energies, when collective consciousness, when these all number of these priests chanting these chants, and with the collective consciousness they're bringing, it can cleanse the surroundings of us where we live, not only the city, state, country, and beyond, and bestow the positive vibrations in our mind and our surroundings, and spiritual growth and realization. So in this, the main thing is self-realization is also one of the important things. Understanding Maharudra Yagya, it is, and its significance. As he was explaining, Andrew was explaining about the, in a scientific way, electromagnetic theory, every person and animal has an innate vibration frequency. Lower frequencies indicate higher levels of depression and vulnerability to viral diseases. Chanting and group prayers like Maharudram raise these frequencies, increase happiness, and reducing mental issues. And, recently, when we gone through this pandemic, the COVID, these kind of a Maha Yagya definitely would have helpful. But, of course, who wants to spend money on the Maha Yagyas like this? And everybody is spending money on the medications, because the whole world is investing on the medical science to find the vaccinations. But again, of course, vaccinations are important, but at the same time, these kind of a Vedic chanting, if you raise that frequencies higher level, the negativity, even the viruses also can be destroyed by these higher frequencies. Now, understanding Maharudra and its significance, this transformative gathering is designed to uplift the global collective consciousness and collective inner inflection. Over the course of 4 days, participants will reap a myriad of benefits, from improved health and holistic rejuvenation to a boost in wealth and overall well-being. Beyond this, the event stands as lighthouse guiding the way to enlightenment, diminishing negative karmic effects and showering life with positive energy and divine blessings. Your active participation can truly make this spiritual journey a remarkable one, because these kind of a Maha Yagyas, in 2016, I led the Maha Yagya in Japan. It was done under the noble guidance of Shalanda Saima with 150 Pundits. And all the Pundits were flown out from India, and they were, we have done there in front of the Mount Fuji. And these kind of yagyas, whenever it's there, it's not a one-man show, it's a group consciousness. So it's a participation is very, very important as every citizen of this planet. Understanding Maharudra Yagya, Maharshi Mahesh Yogi and other great souls have constantly emphasized that the group performance of Rudram by trained people is the best thing that can be done to awaken world consciousness and purify the negative energies that are causing our global and local social problems. Naturally, listening to this recitation will awaken and purify us. And by the way, all these yagyas we are doing here, people who can participate in person, you are welcome, and let your friends and family, everybody know this. Or this is all live streaming, all 4 days, the whole thing is going to be live streaming. So you can see a wonderful vibrations from your home as well. At this time in history, when mankind faces so many extensional problems that are starting to impact almost all of us. Sponsoring, attending, or listening online to this very remarkable mass performance organized by the Vedic Foundation, Vedic Yagya Center, is something especially powerful that we can do to make a difference. In the Ishvara Gita, what they talk about, there is a verses called in Sanskrit, Vedanam Samavediyam Yajusham Shatarudriyam. In the Vedas, in the Bhagavad Gita also, Lord Krishna said, Aham Vedanam Samavedosmi. I am the Samaveda in all Vedas. And Yajusham Shatarudriyam. In the Yajusha, in Yajurveda, Shatarudriyam, this Maharudras, this type of Maha Yagyas, he is in Shatarudra. Sri Rudram comprise two segments, Namakam and Chamakam. These are the names of the chantings. As part of the Yajurveda, it is universally renowned for its capacity to remove all obstacles and difficulties in life. Namakam, chapter 16th of the Yajurveda, and Chamakam, chapter 18th of the Yajurveda, earn their names from the repetition of the word Namo, 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 Namo. Like, Namo Hiranyabahave Senanye Dishan Chapataje, Namo, Namo Rukshebhyo Harikeshebhyo Pashonam Pataje. Like, Namo, Namo, always you say, that is Namakam. And Chame is Shanchame, Majaschame, Priyanchame, Nukamaschame, Kamaschame, Saumanasachame, Chame. Chame means, oh Lord, please bless me this, bless me this, bless me this. We are asking the divine, we are offering our prayers, and we are requesting the divine to protect us, bless us. So it's repetitively we are chanting that. In this Maharudra, Ekadasha Rudram, which is 11 times recitation of Namakam followed by 1 Chamakam, and the Laghurudram is 11 rounds of 11 Ekadasha Rudrams. Maharudram is 11 rounds of Laghurudrams. That means 1331 times. And Atirudram is 14,000 times. So these are the numbers and different levels with these yagyas can be done. And here what we are doing is Maharudram, which is 1331 times with the 125 priests plus. The Rudra Maha Yagya venerates Lord Shiva, the very source of cosmic energy for all creation. Lord Shiva is the embodiment of infinite mercy, compassion, and love. And he conquers death. He is the traditionally worshipped in the form of linga, symbolizing the universe itself. When you see the universe from the space, it is in the form of oval shape, not in the circle. The act of Abhisheka cools the Shivalingam and pleases the deity. The Rudram, the Rudra Yagya, is the most sacred and potent of all Mahayagyas, incorporating two Nishkama karmas, namely Daiva Yagya, worship of Shiva and other divinities, and Manushya Yagya, performed with a large number of devotees. This, you can call devotees or priests. This event is performed primarily for the eradication of one's sins and for bringing peace and prosperity and familial harmony. So it's the program, which is a very noble program. The purpose and benefit of Maharudra, whatever we do in life, we always want to know why I should do it. What is the reason I should do? What is the benefits I will get? So here it is. It is stated in the Vedic textbooks, by participating and sponsoring this Yagya, this Maharudra, we all will be blessed. The whole universe will be blessed with the peace, prosperity, and well-being. Chanting of the sacred Rudra mantras, it will create the vibrations in our human physiology, cleansing the surrounding and negative energies, not only in external, internally also, or mental mentally in our in mind also, it can create the vibrations and cleanse the negative effects, and it can suppress the depression. And I have used these remedies for many clients in my work since more than 2 decades, and I have seen very good results with this. Bestow positive vibrations in life, and last but not least, spiritual growth and realization is very important. So that is also is possible by this. Now, it's duplicate slides, sorry. And this magnificent 4-day Vedic ceremony is for the welfare of all the participants and devotees, their families, all humanity, and for universal peace and prosperity of the universe. As you've seen, many wars going on in the cold wars, and there are Russia, Ukraine. All these things can be helped by this kind of an yagya. Not, whenever we do something, this kind of an participating in this yagya, not only we are benefiting us through our sponsorships, it will be benefiting towards to the universe also. So it's a great way of supporting the universe, universal peace. Sponsorship and participation in this yajna as a yajamana bring immense benefits. Therefore, it's encouraged to contribute and help conduct this yajna in a grand manner. So why Maharudra? So if you ask a question, why? The value of performing Maharudram is deeply rooted in its spiritual significance and the profound blessings it is believed to bestow upon the devotees and the community. And community is, as earlier Andrew Foss was mentioning, even though we chant sitting here, this energy can work 1,000 miles away with the cosmic energy, because whatever we create the energy here, we release it to the cosmos, and it becomes a cosmic energy, and then it helps to the whole globe. And whoever is, even though you are sponsored from the distance, it will affect. Maharudram is a significant endeavor to seek the divine blessings of Lord Shiva. This undertaking symbolizes the unwavering commitment to the nurturing spiritual growth. Spiritual blessings. The chanting of the sacred Rudra mantras during Maharudra is believed to invoke Lord Shiva's divine presence and blessings. It is viewed as an act of devotion and reverence, fostering a deeper spiritual connection with the deity. And peace and protection. The powerful vibrations generated by the chanting are said to cleanse the surroundings of negative energies and brings peace and harmony in the community. It is to believe that offer divine protection and safeguard against obstacles and adversities. Collective prayer, as I said earlier also, when number of pundits, number of priests sit and chant together, the vibration can make it, it can take us in a different level of different area. Maharudram involves a group of skilled 125 plus Vedic priests reciting sacred hymns, creating an environment of collective prayer and positive energy. This collective effort strengthens the sponsor's spiritual bond and brings a sense of unity. Personal and universal peace. Sponsors believe participants in Maharudram can bring about spiritual growth, emotional well-being, and healing. The blessings sought during the ritual are often extended to benefit the longer worldly events as well, as I was talking about the worldly events. In astrologically also, in 2025, there will be a big shift.
Zoom meeting.
Sorry? So this is a big shift is coming also. That may be in a pralaya, jala pralaya, or some big earthquakes, natural calamities. So these kind of yagyas can help towards to that as well. Overall, the value of participating in Maharudra is immeasurable for sponsors for seek spiritual growth, divine blessings, and sense of harmony within themselves and the community. It is a cherished tradition that holds deep meaning and importance in the heart of the Vedic tradition followers. So whoever follows the Vedic tradition, they must watch, they must sponsor. It's a strongly recommended and humbly recommended to participate in this. And along with the Shiva, Shiva represents for the muscular energy. Now, feminine energy also needed, and that is the word represented by the Chandi, Navachandi. In the annals of mythology, goddess Chandi is known to have incarnated with the mission of vanquish the demon Mahishasura. Experiencing the energy of goddess Chandi that purges negativity involves opening oneself up in body, mind, and spirit to her presence. The Navachandi Yagya is a ceremony of expansional significance. The Yagya Center team of 9 Vedic Pundits, with their vast experience in orchestrating such it is a sorry, one second. The Yagya Center team is organized. The 9 priests will be chanting all the 700 verses of the Chandi. And by participating in the Navachandi Yagya, you can all upon goddess Chandi, which is the Durga or Kali, inviting divine protection and the triumph of good over evil. Like, you can eradicate the negative energies in our life, from our life. And in the Devi Mahatmya, which is a Chandi part we called, or Durga Saptashati, 700 verses. So all 700 verses will be recited by 9 Vedic priests and then offer the fire sacrifice. 13 chapters. It divides in, that 700 verses divides in 13 chapters. These 13 chapters divides into 3 sections. And this 3 sections represents by Durga, Kali, first 1 chapter. Lakshmi is 3 chapters. Saraswati is 9. Durga represents for power. Lakshmi represents for wealth and well-being. Saraswati represents for knowledge and wisdom. In life, what we need most, power, knowledge, or money. If you look at according to the Chandi, we need knowledge and wisdom most, not the power and not the wealth. Of course, power and wealth needed, but knowledge, when there is a knowledge and wisdom is there, you gain those things also. So it is a very important thing to follow in the Chandi and Durga Saptashati. Why do we do Navachandi? Generate a divine, impressive, protective barrier against harmful energies in our life. Aid in combating all negative forces and defeating adverse influences. Seek the blessings of the formidable goddess Chandi for vanquishing evil and securing divine protection. By participating in this yagya, the Chavichandi, Kama, which is desire, Krodha, anger, Lobha, greediness, Moha, attachment, Mada, ego, Matsarya is jealous. The 6 demons we bond with, and it's not going to go away in lifetime until end of the life. So by participating in this kind of a yagya, these Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsaryas, these 6 demons can be diminished, from our life. The sacred scriptures convey that undertaking the Navachandi Yagya can yield the following potential benefits. Provide the energies associated with the aspiration, wisdom, and action. Erect an unusable protective barrier against negative influences. Aid in mitigating negative emotions. Shield against malevolent forces. promote unity and happiness among family members. Family harmony is also one of the things in the you will be blessed. Heal and revitalize both body and mind. Alleviate stress and instill tranquility. Eliminate hurdles and pave the way for new opportunities in both professional and personal life. Enable the transformation of adverse into allies. Grant the power of manifestation. The Chandi is the divine mother, which we called. She is the form of three divine mothers, Lakshmi, Kali, and Saraswati. You are encouraged to participate by sponsoring this Maha Yagya at a Vedic Yagya Center website. There is a link here. Of course, you all will be receiving an email who are participating in this webinar. And of course, you can forward this to your friends and family, and they can participate by clicking that link. Reason to sponsor. Why do we need to, you need to sponsor? Divine offering. Number one, sponsoring Maha Yagya is a deeply sacred and pious act, expressing love and devotion to Lord Shiva and Mother Divine, offering the ritual as token of reverence and gratitude. Personal blessings, believed to bring abundant blessings from Lord Shiva and Mother Divine. Sponsoring Maha Yagya invites divine intervention, seeking solution to challenges and guidance on one's spiritual journey. Now, how to participate in Maha Yagya? Again, collective merits. Contributing to Maha Yagya allows sponsors to partake in the collective merits of the powerful Vedic hymns, creating a sense of unity and spiritual connection. This Yagya is happening in a long weekend time. So it's all, I know you may have plans for long weekend, but these plans can come back again. But this kind of Maha Yagyas comes very rarely. So as a Vedic priest, Vedic Pundit, I strongly recommend, if you have any other plans, if you can put off, please put off and then join in this Maha Yagya. Spiritual growth. Sponsoring Maha Yagya deepens spiritual practice, fostering commitment and devotion to one's faith. And please visit the Vedic.com, my website, vydic.com, and the link where you can see more elaboratedly. You know, I try to give this information in a very short time, but you can read everything on the website in a very elaborated way. And of course, you all know me, what I do, my work. I am a Vedic Pundit, more than 25 years of experience and Vedic astrology. So any kind of remedies, astrological consultations, you can join and you can contact me. And as a, you know, in the beginning, I did not introduce properly Andrew Foss. Dr. Andrew Foss is a world-renowned Vedic astrologer, and he is a PhD in Vedic astrology, and he wrote a Vedic software, Vedic astrology software also. It's called Sri Jyotish Star. He's a great friend of mine, and he is a president of British Association of Vedic Astrology in London. And we meet many times in a year in a different conferences. And thank you, Andrew. Thank you very much. Putting your, you know, the why I requested to people needs to understand it's not just a religious thing here. There is a quantum physics. When people understands the value, how these remedies, these yagyas can help the world and personal level in a scientific way, people can get much more benefit. And thank you very much. And any questions now we are ready to take about the yagya, or to me or Andrew, any questions, audience, you can ask questions, participants, please, if you have any questions. If not, I will be sending tomorrow one email about, of course, this recording will be sent to you all, and I will be sending the yagya information. And if you have any questions, you can contact my office. Many of you, I'm already doing some work for you guys. So anytime you have any questions, you can contact my office, or you have any questions regarding about today's talk, please raise your hand, or you can ask, you can unmute yourself and talk. Any questions? No? And I know in the, there are many astrologers also in this attendees. Now people are there, and Venkat is also there, who is listening, and he's one of the key person in the Vedic this Maharudram. So thank you for joining us, all of you. And anybody have any questions, you can write in the email also later on. All right. So Andrew, looks like everybody is overwhelmed with the information in a short time what we gave. And do you need to, do you want to say anything, Andrew?
Thank you for your kind words. And I think we've said what we have to say. But there is really something real about this. It's not I could say we've got into the idea that whatever's going on in the temple is just going on in the temple. And this is the whole business. If you can't see it, it's not there, you know. Like everywhere we're sitting, there's maybe many Wi-Fi signals, but because we don't see it, we think there's nothing there. But in reality, your phone knows very well that it's there. Your brain probably also knows that it's there. So there's so much energy that's produced. Like every human being is radiating all the time. Suppose you have a room full of depressed, miserable people, even if you're in the next room, and you don't know about these people in the previous room, you still feel it. You know, as you drive into a city, you feel the heaviness, you know, the dissatisfaction, because our whole civilization is based on creating dissatisfaction. Otherwise, people won't go shopping, will they? So, for anything other than the basics. So that's the point is that we are all contributing to the state of the world. So how do we create something more positive? Obviously, we have to become joyful ourselves, but we can at least sponsor this yagya, so it'll help in a big way to make a difference. And really, we should be having it frequently. Like there should be these yagyas should be going on repeatedly in many places. That's what we need. And I want to give tremendous respect to the Pundit, because how many people are organizing these things? Like Maha Yagya used to organize these mass Rudrams all over the place, but they were happening because he was raising the money and he was sponsoring it, and he's gone now. So who's replacing him? You see, and even that wasn't. It was his one effort. He said if we could have if there could be some serious sponsorship, it could be done on a much bigger scale. You know, and I think it's quite brilliant how the Panditjis managed to organize this, because really it's a massive undertaking. So whatever little we can do, let's do it, and hope it continues.
All righty. Thank you. So I will do the final prayer, and then we will conclude our webinar here. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahi Tejasvinamadhitavastu ma vidvijavahi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you all.
Thank you for the information.